Russian officials have begun laying the groundwork to withdraw from international arms control agreements, a move that U.S.-based think tank the Institute for the Study of War says signals preparations for a potential military confrontation with NATO. The shift comes after years of failed diplomatic efforts to stabilize relations between Europe and the Kremlin. In response to growing security concerns, European countries pledged to raise NATO defense spending to 5% of GDP, while the European Union unveiled the ambitious €800 billion Rearm Europe plan. Together, these measures are intended to counter what many describe as Russia's rapidly expanding war machine, one that now poses a direct threat to the safety of more than 740 million Europeans. To assess whether Europe is truly prepared, analysts examine three core indicators of military readiness: defense spending, weapons production capacity, and troop strength, consulting leading European defense experts for insight. Russia's defense budget has surged in recent years, even at the expense of its own national wealth fund. In 2025, the Kremlin raised military spending to 13.5 trillion rubles, accounting for nearly one-third of the national budget. Projections for 2026 place combined military and internal security spending at nearly 17 trillion rubles. Experts caution, however, that official Russian figures underestimate real spending while masking significantly lower production costs compared to Western systems. By contrast, European military spending remains comparatively constrained. The EU allocated just €1.8 billion in 2025 to address defense challenges, while NATO's common-funded military budget stood at €2.37 billion, most of it contributed by European and Canadian members. Although experts welcomed the €800 billion loan initiative, many warned it was more a political signal than a near-term solution. A key concern is timing. European defense modernization unfolds over years, while the threat posed by Russia is immediate. Analysts warn of the risk of escalation beyond Ukraine, noting that Europe's long-term plans may not deter short-term aggression. Experts broadly agreed that increasing NATO defense contributions would improve deterrence, but emphasized that the current 2% GDP benchmark is insufficient. Most argued Europe needs to spend at least 3 to 4%, with 5% viewed as both realistic and necessary. Yet higher spending alone will not be enough without structural reforms to NATO's military infrastructure, industrial base, and political cohesion. Efficiency remains another challenge. Europe's defense system is widely described as fragmented, duplicative, and slow to adapt. While budgets increase, real capabilities lag behind. Analysts warn Russia retains a window of opportunity until 2030 before European investments fully translate into operational strength. Meanwhile, Russia has rapidly expanded its weapons production. Between late 2022 and mid-2024, quarterly output of tanks, armored vehicles, artillery, and loitering munitions surged dramatically. Though much of this growth came from refurbishing existing stockpiles rather than new manufacturing. Russia now produces roughly 250,000 artillery shells per month and continues to build reserves faster than it expends them. Europe remains far behind. Germany produces fewer than 50 modern tanks annually. France manufactures just over 140 artillery systems per year, and missile production remains limited. Although some missile programs have restarted, European stockpiles have already been depleted by aid to Ukraine. Even with planned increases, Europe's artillery output would be quickly exhausted in a high-intensity conflict, especially as Russia, aided by China, outpaces NATO in shell production. Experts argue Russia has fully transitioned to a war economy, while Europe has not. Continued reliance on U.S. weapon systems also creates vulnerabilities, particularly in air defense. where Europe lacks a replacement for American Patriot systems. Still, analysts believe Europe could match Russian production rates within a few years if political leaders make decisive choices. Militarily, NATO air forces are widely expected to dominate any conventional air conflict with Russia within days. Despite frequent nuclear threats from Moscow, most experts believe any conflict would remain conventional. Nuclear weapons are largely viewed as deterrents rather than usable tools, with a consensus holding that their use would guarantee mutual destruction. In terms of manpower, Russia fields approximately 1.3 million active soldiers, while Europe's combined national armies total roughly 1.5 to 1.6 million. NATO as a whole counts over 3.4 million active personnel. However, Russia's true advantage lies in its mobilization potential, an estimated 69 million people, far exceeding Europe's capacity, even under expanded recruitment. Beyond numbers, analysts stress that societal readiness may be Europe's greatest weakness. While Eastern European nations show high willingness to defend their countries, enthusiasm drops sharply further west. Experts argue Russia has cultivated a culture that accepts sacrifice and violence, while many European societies prioritize stability and comfort over mobilization. Recognizing these gaps, several European states have begun taking action. Germany approved legislation requiring military registration. France announced a new voluntary service program, and Poland launched its largest ever military training initiative. NATO also approved expanded common funded budgets for 2026 to strengthen readiness and interoperability. Even so, Europe's total defense spending, though comparable to Russia's, may not translate into equal preparedness. Analysts warn that war depends not only on weapons and budgets, but on political will and societal resolve. As one expert noted, war reveals character only when it arrives. Ukraine learned this through experience. Europe, many fear, may soon face the same test.